Hi, I'm about to show you the whole process behind the making of my new leather horn handle. Before I start, I'd like to say that I have a perfectly good horn handle that my friend gave me, but I've been wanting to try this project for a very long time. I started by tracing the other horn handle, making modifications, and drawing the carving onto a paper mock-up of the leather. Then, I used a tracing tool to trace the design onto tooling leather. My goal was to commemorate the friends I've made through band, so the carving was going to be of a horn quartet overlooking the grand corridor of the Homestead Resort. After it had been traced, I needed to carve out the important lines with a swivel knife. When cutting, it's important to keep the leather wet to make the cut smoother and to do less overall damage. I made a few mistakes with the swivel knife, but that's nothing that couldn't be sorted out later with some stamps and leather magic. Once I could see where I was going to cut, I cut the guard's shape out of the tooling leather. Tooling leather is another word for leather that's been tanned naturally so that it can be tooled with leather tools without consequence or without ruining the hide. Because the cuts were so complex, I couldn't use my big leather shears, and instead I used precision knives to score and then cut the leather. I used a small swivelly X-Acto knife to score it, and then I used a larger one to cut it. After it was cut out, I could start stamping. Stamping uses a series of setting tools with different heads to incorporate shading, perspective, and design into the carving. I must admit, stamping dramatically improved my carving's overall aesthetic. Using this tool, I bevel the leather, which not only makes the edges of the leather product more clean, but also preserves its life, as less frayed edges on the leather means that it'll last longer and stay intact for longer. In keeping with the trend of working with the edges of the leather, I used a wooden tool called a burnisher to burnish the edges of the leather. What that does is it presses the newly beveled edges together and makes it so that it's even more difficult to start fraying the leather. Once the beveling and burnishing were done, it was time to stain the leather. Staining, in addition to improving the look of tooling leather, gives the leather an additional layer of protection. I chose saddle tan for this project because it gives a nice medium tan. As you can see, the saddle tan really accentuates the dimensions of the carving. Once stained, I had to set button rivets so that I could easily secure the guard to my French horn. Hammering metal over an anvil is loud, so I did this part outside. Once I put the rivets in, that was the whole thing. Now I can play Strauss's Nocturne with my new French horn handle that buckles over my hand and is really awesome.